and she bites off his lip, and I'm like, is this hot? And it's really just feeling like School of Rock if School of Rock was really boring and not fun. Aliens with a breeding kink and not even a hot one. Welcome to the vlog. This week we are going to be reading horror arcs that I have because I have a lot of them. I've been blessed by the horror arc gods, which is so great. However, they are getting to be either past due or close to being due, so I thought just like a whole week of horror would be great. Is Summerween approaching us? Yes. But that doesn't mean that I can't pregame with even more horror. I'm also filming this intro after the vlog is over, so one of these is annotated, and that's why. But I will be reading these 5 books. Let me give you a teeny tiny synopsis of all of them in the order of publication, I think. The first one that is already out by the time you're seeing this for sure is My Ex the Antichrist. This is about a girly pop that in the 90s that dates a man, and he's the Antichrist apparently, and the climax of this is the Battle of the Bands, and the result of that is the death of 9 teenagers, and now they're telling their story like 25 years later. So there's that one. And then this is House of Beth. This is, I believe, a ghost story. It's about a woman who marries someone who is a recent widower, but that woman is not gone. The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Khaw is about this like evil school, and the people that attend it are basically could end the world, and they have to learn how to like not do that. The teachers also want to eat them though, so 13 Months Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano is about a middle school librarian who identifies that something is not quite right with one of the middle schoolers, and then she sticks her nose in that business. And the business is very dark and kind of witchy. Unseen by Anya Elborn is about a woman who is recently grieving the loss of her 6th child, but then despite them being super remote and there's no way a child could have walked that far, they find one in their yard, and she's like, we have to keep it. And everyone else is like, do we? And she's like, yes. And obviously things don't go well. That's a stack. Let's get into the vlog. Okay, I've started The Unseen by Anya Elborn, and I'm only like 3 chapters in, so I don't have a lot of thoughts yet, but I think we are going to go read at a coffee shop outside because it is so nice out, and I think it's going to be like too hot tomorrow, so today is like the perfect day to get a little reading done outside. And I will probably do some like planning in my Hobonichi as well. I have a Hobonichi cousin, and I like it. I think I want to set it up differently next year though, but I'm probably going to get another one next year. But anyway, this one is about a creepy child. So far we've gotten, it has some like mixed media sprinkled in throughout the chapter breaks too, which I enjoy that. And we got a little article on feral children, and we're following, I said I wasn't going to give an update, but here we are. Isla, who recently lost her 5th or 6th child, and just like feels like she needs another one, and they think that it's like kind of the symptom of PTSD from being abandoned, that she needs all of these children because her husband in his like internal monologue is like, we have too many kids, I'm the only one that's working, I can't pay for them all, but I love Isla, and Isla recently tried to like herself, and I can't live without her, so I need to make her happy. The relationship doesn't seem, it seems strained, but like anybody's would be. It doesn't seem like deadbeat dad energy though, which I appreciate. So we're gonna go and read this at a coffee shop, and it should be good. Sorry if the air conditioning is loud, but I'm not turning it off. There's simply nothing to do about it. It's too hot today. But I went to the coffee shop, got some planning done. It was great. And I'm about 100 pages in to The Unseen by Anya Elborn now. And I feel like I can tell you what it's about. We're following Isla and Luke, who are married. They have a family. And Isla recently lost her youngest, Adam. And they have 5 other kids though. They have Gus, who is like 17 on the brink of like being a young adult. And then Eden, who is 16. I wrote it down because I wasn't going to remember. I think Olive is either 14 or 12. Willow is 9 and Sophie's 5. I think that's what it is. And then the kid that she found, who is just like, they keep talking about how absolutely bizarre his face and just like general vibe is. And he's like definitely both like mentally and physically disabled. He doesn't speak. He doesn't really respond to much. And they talk about like he could have been kept in a cage or something because he walks like this and he's bow-legged and pigeon-toed and all of those things. So really like tragic situation in theory, but also there's clearly like something supernatural going on in this scenario, and they keep talking about how kids are constantly disappearing, but no one is looking for him. So that's the odd part. I think he's making the kids go and disappear. I think that's what's happening. That's my guess right now. We're also getting like different perspectives I think we've gotten from every child other than Rowan so far. And none of them like him. All of them are freaked out and feeling like very neglected by their mom. It's one thing, it really bugs me when people have more children than they can actually care for, not even just like financially, but like emotionally and time wise. Isla is clearly neglecting these children. Like Sophie, the day after Rowan got there, had like these messed up pigtails because she's 5, remember. I think she did them herself, and she had to figure out breakfast for herself, but Isla made Rowan this like really cute breakfast in the shape of a smiley face. It was like all this hot food, like bacon and waffles and that kind of thing, and Sophie had to figure out like cereal. And I was like, in her mind, well, Sophie's fine. She'll figure it out. She has to like understand that this is hard for me and I have to put my time into Rowan. And it's like, you didn't have to take Rowan in. This was not an obligation that you had to do. And Isla has like these periods of not being totally there and like freaks out all over kids, and Luke too. And it's just like really sad. Like clearly there's not something right with Isla, but also it's like incredibly sad for her children because they're clearly neglected like emotionally, and it's just really frustrating to me. But when Rowan came home, they have 2 dogs, and the dogs absolutely freaked out. They're usually like apparently like the nicest golden retrievers ever, but they were like terrified and aggressive when Rowan came home. And it's like, if the dogs don't like this freak ass kid, you need to get the kid out of here. That's crazy. I know something bad's gonna happen to the dogs. I'm trying so hard not to get attached to them. And then, like, the youngest one got a really bad headache when Rowan entered. When Eden was looking at him, like, locked eyes with him and had, like, an unkind thought about him, that she, like, choked on nothing and could not breathe. Just all of these weird things are happening that feel, like, very supernatural. And I'm super hooked so far. I'm, like, very engaged with the story. I need to know what's gonna happen. I really, really like it. I'm excited to find out what is going to happen. Like, I know it's just probably going to get worse. This is absolutely doing it for me, and I'm really happy that it is, because I've read one on the album before that was like a 3-star. It was fine, and then The Devil Crept In was pretty good though, so I'm glad that this is keeping my attention. And I also feel like it's reading pretty fast, and it's broken up into days, so I'm only on day 2 so far, like the very beginning of day 2. I don't know how many days it goes, probably like maybe a week, probably about a week, yeah, unless there's time jumps, which I don't imagine that there would be. I think things are going to go to shit relatively quickly. They kind of already. I'll update you probably in a bit. I don't imagine that I'd finish this tonight, but we'll see how far we get. I have made more progress into the unseen, and I am so frustrated with Isla. Realistically, is she kind of being like taken advantage of, is possessed by whatever this like supernatural experience this family is having? Yes. But right now it just feels like she's a bad parent. So the scenario was that Rowan was in Sophie's room and made all of the toys like make a loud noise, and also he shrieked at her. He has this like weird voice, and she went deaf. And Isla and Luke had to take her to the hospital, obviously, because they're like, she cannot hear. There's blood coming out of her ears. And they're trying to figure out what's happening. And Isla's internal monologue is like, I should be home with Rowan. I should be home with Rowan right now. I can't believe we have to take this thing to the doctor. And it's like, girl, that's your baby child. She's 5. And it's just been really a frustrating experience. And all of the kids are like starting to see all of these supernatural things happening, like shadows and this long spindly figure, which is really creepy. I'm feeling tense. It's really good so far. I am nervous though. I don't really foresee, because like Anya Alborn doesn't really have happy endings, so I don't really foresee this family surviving. But I like all the kids, which is really frustrating because I don't think any of them are going to survive. If anything, I think Isla is going to survive them all and then not have the supernatural entity affecting her and live with that guilt. I think that would be the most heartbreaking thing to happen. And I still can't really tell like what Rowan is, if he's just like a shadow person or like this eldritch horror from the forest. I'm not super sure. It's going really well so far. and I'll probably finish it up today. I finished Unseen last night, and I, spoilers, did not expect it to be aliens with a breeding kink and not even a hot one. Apparently Isla had been abducted by an alien previously. And that's where her cousin had gone. Now they let her go for some reason. It was because she was pregnant with something, with one of their things, I think. And now they've come back for her. And this was definitely not a happy ending. There was only one person left alive, and it was a person who I think could incubate aliens, which this is just such kind of like almost an absurd book, but it was effective for me. Like, I was tense and stressed the whole time. I'm so glad the dogs are okay, and I really liked it. I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I felt very tense. It felt like true horror, like it stressed me out. So a very bleak and ambiguous ending though. Like, if you're not okay with not knowing things, I wouldn't recommend this to you, but I rate it 4.25 stars. I thought it was really solid, and I'm excited to read more from Anya Alborn because, like, I don't know how this compares to Brother or Seed, which I feel like are her two big ones, and I still haven't read yet. I think I need to read one of those this fall. Probably Seed. It's giving me fall vibes. But anyway, let's get to the next book. My hair looks insane, but it just kind of is what it is, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm halfway through The Library at Hellbore. Well, maybe like a third of the way through. I'm really liking so far. It's a lot better than The Salt Grows Heavy, which is the only other thing that I've read by Cassandra Claw. We're following Alessa, and she is a student at Hellebore, and she's there unwillingly. She got kidnapped, and some people just get kidnapped and are just there, and they basically have supreme power over every government in the world. And it's basically like this is where we start, and we're getting information about the before and we're getting information about the after. And at the very start, it's Alessa standing over the very bloody dead body of her roommate whom she has killed, and the roommate's partner coming in, but also the partner is kind of into Alessa. We're not super sure yet. There's a lot of things that we don't know. And then after we get this scene, we get to go to the before. And the before is like the start of her term at this school. The only way to leave Hellebore is to graduate or in a body bag, is basically what they say. And I love the writing style of this. I've had to look up so many words in the dictionary. It's a lot of language that I have never read before, and I'm loving the way that it is pieced together. It's very visceral but also poetic, and I just really like that about it. And we're also getting the after, because you know from the get-go, the teachers are going to eat the students, have been eating the students. So we're getting that part of it too, like their bid for survival, but also like this very like classic school setting, starting to make friends and just trying to survive, if not thrive, at the school. I'm liking both of the aspects. And we have a few characters. We have Portia, who seems to be like part spider, and then Rowan, who is the partner that walked in on Alessa and her roommate. And he seems to be dead, but also not dead. Very questionable. Also very snarky, which I enjoy. And the few people that we're left with after this big massacre has happened, we're just kind of getting to know them. They're very like caricatures, and every student that enters this school is basically like gifted in a bad way, like could destroy the world if given the notion to do so, and that's why they're there, so that they learn how to not do that, except also they're in danger all of the time. And it's very like quirky and whimsical, but also very dark. I'm really liking it though. I have like tabbed it a bunch. Mostly like the visceral poetic language is what I'm tabbing, and I'm very excited to continue it. I am just so happy that I like this better than The Salt Grows Heavy, because I obviously requested this, so I wanted to read it. I think with the familiar and I really enjoy a school setting is making this more enjoyable for me. And it's also reading pretty quickly. There's only like 270 pages. And at the beginning of all the chapters, I hope that they do this in like the book and not just this arc, because obviously they're different sometimes, but there's bees. Just on the like the title chapter pages, but it's still really fun. Okay, I'm gonna continue this and I will give you an update. Good morning. I have finished Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Claw, and I definitely have thoughts. So I definitely liked it more than The Salt Grows Heavy. This had a little bit more of a plot, but not like a crazy amount of plot. We start in kind of like the middle of the full timeline of the story. Then we have flashbacks and then move forward with the plot to the end of the story. And I don't know that this book was necessarily served by that. I think that it could have been told chronologically and I would have felt pretty much the same way. The jumps back and forth didn't bother me too much, and typically they do, so that's like saying something for sure. The flashbacks were getting kind of like that classic starting in a school setting, even though the school kind of wants to kill you. We're getting like meeting other students, forming connections, doing coursework, surviving a killer library, that kind of thing. But at the end, we're experiencing this like cosmic apocalyptic horror. So it's definitely like we're jumping back and forth between two like pretty different things. The cosmic horror is pretty strong in both of them though, to be honest. I've started a different book and in both of the books, there's a character named Rowan. But Rowan is like kind of the love interest and he has like this very snarky personality. But at the end of this book, Alessa is just trying to survive. And she bites off his lip and I'm like, is this hot? But it's to try and kill like the big bad. And I thought it was very interesting how she did this. The ending is kind of ambiguous. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I think we won. Woohoo. And I did appreciate like all of like the eldritch cosmic horror in this. I thought it was really fun to read. It's a fast-paced read. I do think this book would be best read though in the fall because just like dark academia and like the weird gross horror, I think it would go so well on like a crisp October day. That's how I feel. Even September. But overall I thought it was pretty good. It definitely makes me want to read more from Cassandra Khaw. I think that it would be fun to do like some kind of series where I read a book that I really like by an author and then a book that I don't like by an author and just like have that experience and then have a tiebreaker and have the whole video be tiebreakers. But that actually doesn't have anything to do with anything. I ended up giving this like 3.75 to 4 stars is kind of how I'm feeling right now. I'll probably have a more solid answer at a later date, but that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I liked it. It was definitely worth my time reading. And let's go to the next one. Okay, I'm like 50 pages into House of Beth now by Carrie Cullen. And I wanted to update you because this book's not very long. It's only like 230 pages. When I started this book, I had to like look at the synopsis because what I knew and what I read of the synopsis did not match like the first chapter of this book at all. And Cassie, she's a literary agent. She's really like struggling. She just broke up with her girlfriend and I did not know that this was queer at all. Because we're mostly following what I thought was a woman who is going back to her hometown, getting back together with this man after his wife dies. And I was like, girlfriend, where does she fit into this? But they break up almost immediately. And she has harm OCD, which I've never read from the perspective of a character with harm OCD, so that's very interesting. I think that she's pretty unlikable, but also she's suffering from harm OCD, so she's just struggling in general. But she makes really self-involved decisions and is not very like kind in her inner monologue, which I'm really enjoying. Like love an unlikable narrator, main character, etc. So I think this will be really good. And she's getting back together now with Eli. She's living in her dad's house, didn't really tell anyone that she was leaving her job and is just trying to make it work. She's subletting her place in the city and is making like $100 a month from that and just trying to like live off of food that way. That's kind of where we got up to right through page 52, and then the next chapter is Beth, his deceased wife. And so I thought I should update you. The first couple lines is, after I died, I woke up. At first I didn't remember my life at all. I'm still waiting for some memories to come back. I feel incomplete without them. But I've lost so much, my house, my children, my body. What's a few gaps? Only I would like to know how I died. I'm so intrigued. Like, there's also children involved, and Eli is the guy that she's seeing, the widower and the father of these children. We haven't really, like, gotten to see the kids at all. He's just pawned them off on a neighbor, which is kind of crazy. Everyone in town really likes this man, too. He seems like an all-around good guy. He has worked his way up at a local business and is designing, like, windows. He's, like, a glass architect, which feels like one of those fake jobs on House Hunters, but is realistically probably real, and I'm liking it so far. It's kind of reminding me of like these books, and I really liked these books, so I'm hoping that I like House of Beth as well. We'll see. I will probably update you once I figure out why we're still talking to Beth. I think that she's the house. She is the house, but we'll find out. found those very cute B-roll clips of everybody out on the balcony while I was reading, and then got the worst headache of my life and just laid in bed and was just in pain, and I did not want to talk to you. I'm so sorry. But I did end up finishing House of Beth by Carrie Cullen. But here's the thing. Was I engaged pretty much the whole time? Yeah, but it wasn't really horror. And like there was a haunting and a possession of sorts. But that part of the book, probably the last third or the last quarter, I wish would have been a way more significant part of the book, because that was by far the best part. It was fun. It was weird. I really liked that part, but there was just too much of Cassie trying to learn how to be a mom. And also dealing with Harm OCD, which was a little more interesting. But there was just like not quite enough of what I wanted from this book and the way that it was pitched for me to totally love it. I did end up giving it 4 stars though, because like I was engaged and kind of just like blew through it. It's very short, but I just wish there would have been more of like the possession part of things, because I think the last update I gave you was just like the first chapter from Beth. But what happened was that Beth and Cassie kind of started this relationship, and then Beth was like, her essence was living inside of Cassie, and they like evened each other out almost. We learned that Beth was kind of queer and not really into Eli anymore. We learned that Eli and the neighbor Joan had an affair, and continued to have one after he got with Cassie. And we learned how Beth died. And then the ending of this book kind of reminded me of the ending of Companion, if you've seen that movie, which it was like a little bit cheesy, but I don't know, I liked it. I just wanted a little bit more from it, but that's okay. Like a 4-star is still a very good rating from me. And we went to Midsummer Media today, the horror bookstore, because I had a couple pre-orders and stuff to pick up, and we got a couple other things, so I can give you a little haul. First, I had Elliot with me, so I looked at the movies for the first time. I hadn't looked at movies before, so we picked up The Thing, and we picked up As Above, So Below. I've been wanting to watch this. He started watching this and never finished it, and this was only $5, so we got it. We'll probably watch one of these this weekend. And then for the book haul, this was a little damaged, and I've been wanting to read this. It was like, I think this is lighter than it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be more of like this pink, but that's not going to affect my reading at all, and I'm excited about it. It's like 80s supernatural haunted video game situation, I think, which is kind of what I wanted from Nefando by Monica Ojeda, but that was just like, that was too much for me. This, I'm very excited about. And then I got Zombie Sharks with Metal Teeth, which are stories by Stephen Graham Jones. I think it's a short story collection. Yeah, there's a bunch of stories in here. I love that cover, and I love Stephen Graham Jones, so I'm excited about this. I picked up my copy of Intercepts by TJ Payne. I read this earlier in the year and I loved it. It's going to be one of my favorite horrors of the year. This is a really just like, it's very floppy. It's a really good texture for a book, but I'm excited about this, to have it on my shelf, because I might even reread this even though everything is spoiled for me. It was just that good. And then I'm completing my Meg Smitherman collection. Her paperbacks also just feel so good. This is about sex robots, and there's a threesome in it, and I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun. So that's the haul. And then I'm probably gonna pick up Okay, I swear I've moved and done other things, but I'm like a third of the way into My Ex the Antichrist, and the horror is not really there. It's a lot of like the bandmates talking about their past experiences and discussing band things. It's mostly been a discussion of music and like the interpersonal connections of what being in a band and being a band member is in the 90s. And we're starting to see that their like sets, their shows, like the crowd is not normal. They get like feral, like either fighting or fucking. That's one of the two that they get into, and that has happened. And our main girl Lily, I think, yeah, Lily and Drake have formed this punk band. I don't even know if I've given like a synopsis of what this is, but Lily and Drake started something, and Drake is like, do you swear to do this with me? And she says to him that she can't do this anymore because all of these bad things have been happening. And he's like, okay, you can have an apartment, you can have the band, I'll leave. And that's where I'm at. But it's been like no horror. I understood when I picked this up that it was going to be about like band things and music, but it was just a lot more. and I was hoping for more horror at this point. Like, I'm 150 pages in. Is that only a third of the way through? This is kind of long. Okay, it's 400 pages. A little over a third of the way through, probably closer to like 40%. But I was expecting more. And it says that a battle of the bands ends in a shocking death and a riot that claims the lives of 9 teenagers in 1999, and we're in 1999 because we get the beginning of the chapters like this and it tells us when it is. 2010 is the height of her stardom, and that's when Lily will confess to a murder. I also feel like this is giving away a lot, but then modern day Lily has finally agreed to an interview, so I guess that's kind of what's happening now because it is told in an interview style. We're getting their names and each of them are having an interview, but it's being told chronologically. I'm assuming the interviews are separate because we're still in the 90s at this point. Did I just forget them introducing this to us? I did actually introduce it to us. They started in 2010. I have just forgotten because I'm slogging through it a little bit, to be totally honest. I'm excited for more horror, or at least more backstabbing, because it says love can be hell. So if the relationship gets messy, I would also be into that. Just none of that has happened yet. I'm 60% of the way done with my ex Antichrist, and it's really just feeling like School of Rock if School of Rock was really boring and not fun. We're getting a lot of just like the band part of things and not a lot of like horror. We have figured out that Lily's ex now, because he left the band, he left her everything pretty much. The apartment, the band, it's hers to do what she wants with it, but we figured out that he's the Antichrist and that the church wants her to kill him despite them having broken up. And now there's this like battle of the bands that they're going to compete in, and she's kind of just like indifferent to that he's the Antichrist, or that she's not really believing it, and also that he doesn't know that he's the Antichrist. So he seems less like this big bad and more like Megamind in terms of like how scary or how bad he's gonna be. And I'm 60% of the way in and I am like pretty bored. If this was not an arc that I got sent, I would probably not continue with it, because it's just, if you're really into like the 90s music scene and like if you liked this movie a lot or something and we're really into that and way less into the horror, this might be for you. But otherwise, you're probably gonna be bored. I am bored. There aren't even really like messy relationships within the band. No one's really messy. Everyone's just kind of boring, and that's just like not what I want at all. There have been like a couple moments that I found myself entertained, but like the entertainment to not entertainment ratio is super off with this book. So I'm not loving it, but I am going to finish it and then I will give you my final thoughts. Okay, I finished my Ex the Antichrist and it was just kind of a nothing book. It was a way too much about the music because I just don't really care. And then all of this interesting stuff happened in the last 50 pages probably, and the journey to get there was not worth the payoff. This could have been like a short story and I might have liked it a little bit better. I'm giving this a 2.75. I am frustrated by it because I think it could have been really like messy and fun and interesting, but it was just kind of stupid instead, which is really harsh. Like the writing was fine. I would read from Craig DeLuey again. I think it was the story itself that I did not like. I would definitely try that author again, but feeling really frustrated by it, and I'm glad that it's over. Ending was kind of just like, oh, here's the apocalypse, sell me your soul or go on a date with me. Since you're my ex, I would like to go on a date with you. And she does that, and then she kills him. And then they are a band for a little while without Drake. And then she's like, she sees Drake again in another like musical setting. She's like, oh, let me go to jail for 12 years because that will save the world somehow. I don't know, I thought it was kind of dumb. It's whatever, it's fine. And on to the next book, I guess. Okay, I've gotten to part 1 into 13 Months Haunted. That's like 100 pages, 75 pages in. And the horror is starting right here. I think that's such a perfect place to start instead of like the last third, which I feel like I've been struggling with a little bit in the horror that I've been reading lately. But this, I'm very intrigued in. It is definitely relying on the crutch of being from the early 2000s, like, haha, Napster, haha, IMs, haha, Google, that's not really a thing yet. but I'm still really enjoying it. Following Piper, who is a young woman, probably like 22, and she's a librarian. Not really like her dream job or anything, but just to like pay the bills and to live in this more rural area so that she can go outside and do outside things like hiking and camping. She's a very outdoor girly. And she sees during one of her visits to the public school of 8th grade class that there's a girl there and her mom is just like in the class with her all the time, and this girl looks afraid always, and she's like, what's up with that? Why is that happening? To the teacher, and he's like, so this is the tea. And basically her dad and her sister died in like a freak accident, and they moved down here and are up here. It's northern Wisconsin. And she's obviously being made fun of at school for this. 14, horrible time to have anything weird to you happen, let alone this. And Piper is very much on this girl's side, trying to be there for her as much as possible. And obviously we're not super far in. Another boy in her class tried to separate her and her mom and shove her into a closet, and this boy like does not come from a good home. His dad is really weird, had like a weird confrontation with Piper and the teacher after this, and Piper hears screaming on her walk home, sees the boy being like attacked by this black mist and die. So things have kicked off in the first 70 pages for sure. This is about 350 pages, which feels like kind of standard. I'm liking it. I'm liking the writing so far. This is my first Jimmy Giuliano, and I like the, you know, the 2000s setting for sure. It feels very like nostalgic. I don't know necessarily if crutch is the right word. That feels a little bit harsh, but it's definitely like the theme and the vibe and the thing that has going for it for me. And the horror feels pretty like standard, classic, nothing special so far, but like that's okay. I'm enjoying it. I'm just honestly glad it's there at this point, and I will update you when I have more thoughts. We just got back from dinner and playing pool. I am abysmal at playing pool, but that's okay. This is in parts, and all the parts are like technological. I just finished checking password, which also means I'm over halfway. And this is just so much fun. This is so like classic horror. The horror started very early, and we're kind of deep diving into why the horror is happening now. I feel as though that some horror books lately are trying to do too many things or have some kind of gimmick, and they don't lean as far into the horror as they should. It's almost not a horror book. It is horror by the very smallest definition of the word, but this is a horror book and it's very fun. I may have sounded a little complainy about the gimmick of it being in the 2000s and it leaning into like the nostalgia and the gimmicks around it being in the 2000s, but I'm having a wonderful time with it actually. We're following Piper still for the most part, but we are now getting Avery and her family's story, which I think is really interesting. Piper has kind of turned into this investigative journalist for her own little blog. She's starting to get people commenting on her blog that she's writing on what is happening with Avery, because she just needs an outlet. She's living up in northern Wisconsin alone. She really realistically doesn't have friends here, and it's just so fun just seeing the blog, and it feels nostalgic even though I wasn't quite old enough to like remember that. It still is just nostalgic because of the media that I was consuming once like I gained consciousness. And the mixed media of it all is also fun. We're getting Piper's blog, we're getting Avery's journal, we're getting Piper's brother, who is a software person. He's scraping the internet to try and find different things, and we're getting to see like the commands that would have been on his terminal for that, and that's also really fun. It's just so perfect to me right now. Piper actually walked in on a boy in the class that she visits dying. It was the boy that had been really bullying Avery, and it was this black mist that Piper saw, and she's like, am I losing my marbles? Or did I see this black mist? And she's telling a select few people about it, including the internet, and she's just trying to figure this out, and finally is confronting Avery's mom and is like, what is going on right now? And Avery is telling her exactly what happened. So it's very interesting and also very tragic. Avery lost her dad and her younger sister in a very short amount of time, and we know that Avery's mom doesn't leave her alone, but it's at Avery's request. Avery can't be alone, or this thing, this evil entity, this evil presence will get her. And The only like plot hole or like question I'm having right now is, why are you immediately believing your child? Why, instead of going through all of these like psychologists and all of these doctors and all of these tests, and they get like, not like an exorcism, but they get a priest to like cleanse their space, are you not testing it? You're immediately believing your daughter that there's something supernatural happening, which I think is interesting. Because if I were the parent, honestly, I would just try and leave her alone to see what would happen. She's screaming bloody murder, but realistically, there's probably not something supernatural happening. But they trust her. So now they're living in this basically like studio apartment that they have turned it into from a cabin, and she's in constant sight, like even when she goes to the bathroom, it's like that serious. What they think happened is there's like this computer virus off of this .exe file, which I think is just like kind of cheesy, but like in such a fun way, and I'm very excited to continue. I think that the writing is really fun. Piper's inner monologue is also really fun. I feel like she feels like a real person, and she has a dog I'm really hoping does not die in this, but other than that, it's just like a very fun horror time. Okay, I have finished 13 Months Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano, and I really like this. It kind of reminded me of like Truth or Dare, which was a really bad Blumhouse movie, but like this hit for me. Was the ending kind of like, not necessarily cheesy, I don't know. The ending worked for me, but I can tell that it's probably not going to work for everyone. Obviously, we got it hinted to us from the middle of it, but I'll put the spoiler thing just in case. Piper gets infected, obviously, with the virus, and Avery gets cured. Also, Ripley the dog is fine. Lived out his life very happily. And Piper has called in on Sam, her brother, to help them because he's a computer guy. And he's relatively useless, actually, but does kind of figure out that there's like this supernatural witchcraft aspect to this virus, and we learn that Avery was creating like a prank to play on all of her friends, very harmless, but then copies this source code that runs a script after she copies it in there, and it makes it evil, and she accidentally killed her sister and dad, which is like really tragic, but they end up living a very happy life, and everything is pretty much fine until the very end. And I don't think that I mentioned this before, but at the very beginning and very end, we are in present day where there is a college student doing his thesis and interviewing Piper, and that's how we're learning this story. And obviously, things go very wrong at the very end, which is a twist that I probably, like, we're in the spoiler part of things right now. But this is so good. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm definitely going to be recommending it to people. Very solid.